Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter, that is Tim. We talk about horror movies on this show. We are nearing the end of October 2018. The Octoberthon is drawing to a close. This will be our second last episode of the month, and we are doing another Patreon vote winner because we had 3 votes for October last month, and one of them was for horror anthologies, and the winner was Tales from the Darkside, the movie, which is what we'll be talking about today. Had you seen this before, Timmy?
I have, yes.
Oh, you had seen this before? Okay. All right, cool. Cool. I had not. This was a first time watch for me. I had no idea what I was getting myself in for.
I mean, I think it was fairly recent for me, like probably within the last couple of years I've seen it. But this was like one of those movies that I would always notice it on like streaming sites, but it was always different ones. Like it would be on like Netflix, and I'd be like, oh, I should watch that. And then I'd see it on like Hulu, and I'd be like, oh, it's on Hulu now. Yeah, I probably should watch it. Then it'd be like on Shudder, and this weekend I actually watched it on HBO. So I don't know, it's always popping up around the place, but it's I watched it like a couple of years ago, and I'll let you know how I feel about it in a little bit.
Does the rounds, yeah. So we'll do a brief spoiler-free section, and I say brief because I think it's kind of hard to talk about an anthology without going into spoilers, because you want to take each story as one thing. So I think we'll just general overall thoughts, and then we'll probably go into spoilers straight after that, because it's kind of hard to discuss these otherwise. So, so that's a horror anthology. It's got a wraparound story that sets up what the 3 main stories are. 3 seems to be the magic number for most horror anthologies, and we have a lot of notable actors, younger versions of them, of course, popping up in this. I was noting a lot of recognisable faces. The first story, called Lot 249, has Christian Slater in it and Steve Buscemi in it, as well as Julianne Moore. So did some double takes there. Second story is called Cat from Hell, and it has Hector Salamanca from Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad in it.
I didn't recognize him. That was the hitman?
No. He was the butler or whatever for the family.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
That was him. And then the final story has James Remar in it. That's called Lover's Vow. And it also has Rae Dawn Chong in it, who... I mean, I wouldn't have known her name, but she's the lead, or the female lead in Commando. So I instantly recognise her because I'm like, that's her from Commando. I know her face. So
cool. That's
your 3 main stories, and you get the wraparound as well. But yeah, a lot of actors in this that I was noticing the faces of. So we'll go into what the plot of each one is, I think, in the spoilers, because I think it's hard to, again, do spoiler-free sections for all of them. So I'll just ask Tim, do you enjoy Tales from the Darkside, the movie?
I actually do quite a bit. I think it's a lot of fun, and each. I would say I don't really think any of the stories here, are that weak. I think they're all pretty enjoyable. They're all pretty different. The wraparound is entertaining enough, and it's no wonder that I like this, because I'm a big fan of Creep Show, and this is kind of like a lot of people refer to it as like Creep Show 3. I think maybe at one point it was supposed to be Creep Show 3, and then for whatever reason they, just turned it into this. Because you have
there actually was a Creep Show 3 eventually, right? Like
early 2000s, which it's god awful. I don't know. I mean, maybe we should do it at some point to torture ourselves, but it's really, really bad. But
had they voted for the original Creep Show in this vote, we might be doing 2 and 3 after it, but they didn't. So
oh boy.
So here we are.
Have we not done the Creep Shows before?
No.
I don't know. I always forget. Oh, okay. Interesting. But because this is wait, was all of this directed by George Romero, or did he like produce or something? Or...
This one? John Harrison directed this.
Okay. Was George Romero like a producer or something? I thought I saw his name on the credits. Maybe
he wrote the screenplay for Cat from Hell.
Okay, which was based on a Stephen King short story. So you have yeah, both Romero and King in there.
We have producers as well. Where's the producers on this list? I go back
possibly.
To that page. I don't know. I can't see them. Go on.
Yeah.
Can I
but I can definitely see this as kind of the spiritual successor to Creep Show 3. It definitely feels like a in that vein of those movies. And I feel like there's one other thing too is I don't know if you ever watched the Tales from the Darkside TV show, which was it's pretty similar to like Tales from the Crypt show, but just a weekly horror anthology thing. But I like that show quite a bit. I haven't seen a ton of episodes. It used to be streaming on Shudder. I don't know if it still is, but I started watching it and I liked the stories, but man, the quality was like really bad. Like, I had that problem with like a few shows that I've wanted to watch over the years. Like, I got the DVD for like the complete Friday the 13th series, and I liked the episodes, but the quality was really, really bad. Like, it looked like watching, someone's like, VHS copy that they just taped off a TV or something. And yeah, I hate to, I feel like I'm not that snobby. I usually, don't care too much about like quality, but like, these were like really bad when I tried to watch them.
It's part of the charm, Timmy. It puts you in the mood for shows of the era.
But not when like you can't tell what's going on because it's like, so dark or fuzzy. You know what I mean?
No, I get you. Unfortunately, I think for some stuff like that, it's this unfortunate thing where they don't necessarily keep the masters for the shows, and they end up having to take the transfers from like essentially VHS recordings, or maybe more studio quality, but it's still subpar from what you want or expect. So I hadn't seen this before. I don't think I like it as much as you. I think it's okay. Like I'm kind of in a like, I thought it was amusing. Pretty much was my general kind of feeling on it. Like, I didn't necessarily think any of the three stories were good horror stories. I think the fact that I was recognizing so many actors and enjoying their performances was probably the thing I liked the most about it. But like, I have thoughts on that cat story. I'm going to I have some thoughts on that one specifically. And there's some weird elements in all the stories that feel kind of like really weird, and the characters acting like no people ever would to make the plot work. There's a few instances of that, I thought.
I think it's a little easier to like. I'm not disagreeing with you. I think I might be a little more lenient when you're doing like horror anthologies, because you don't have as much time to really world build and character build. So sometimes it is a little, your characters might be a little broader. The situations might be a little more rushed. I don't know. I think it's a little forgiving, but I see what you mean.
It was a perfectly fine watch though. Like, it was an easy watch. It was not something mad that I watched afterwards. It's breezes by fairly quickly. Then it's kind of amusing for the most part. But I think that's where my praise kind of caps out for the most part. So so I think we'll have the spoiler warning just now, so we can start tackling the stories one by one, because it's kind of hard to go back and forth, like we said. So we will start off. I suppose we should mention the wraparound is a witch who's kidnapped a young boy and got him trapped in her house, and he's basically trying to stall for time because she's going to cook him for dinner. She's like, "Oh, by 1 o'clock you have to be in the oven," and he's stalling for time by reading stories from a horror book. And that's the setup for what the stories are that we're seeing.
What's always confused me about this is this kid's own book, or did he find it in the witch's house?
I think it's her book.
Because it always just seemed weird to me that it's like, well, why does she seem so interested? Like, if it's her own book, like, she seems to get really enraptured in these stories, which whatever, it fits the. It gets you where you need to go. Yeah. But it's kind of weird that it's like, all right, well, I mean, you can always read this on your own, or maybe have read it on your own before. Like, why do you care so much?
She's not at the time, and she's delighted to hear what these stories are. Finally, she's like, oh, someone can just tell me them as I'm preparing lunch and dinner. Maybe that's what it is. But the first story is Lot 249. It's a mummy story, where you have Christian Slater. And you have Steve Buscemi, who both live in a college dorm. Which, by the way, They point out that Steve Buscemi is supposed to be a struggling, like, you know, a poor college student who's working his way through college, and he has like this really big dorm room that it's like it's like the kind of extravagant like living room in a big fancy apartment. It's like the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. And he's got like, you know, antique collectibles like scattered around the room.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I absolutely loved this one. I think it's one of the best like mummy, you know, horror movies since the original Mummy, which I guess, you know, isn't that hard because, you know, there's not like a ton of mummy stuff, but I just love that, you know, this is like a good mummy thing. Like we don't get a lot of those.
It's okay. I don't know. I'm not ready to heap the praise on this one that much. I feel like because the whole thing is that Steve Buscemi is being wronged by Slater's friend and Slater's sister, who's Julianne Moore, because they're a couple and they screwed him out of a fellowship, and then they're going to frame him for stealing this thing to get him kicked out because they don't like him. So you kind of sympathize with him to a point that he's just a hard done by guy. But he's got this mummy delivered to him. No real explanation as to where he got it, how he got it, or how much it cost, or anything like that. It's just no. He's got a mummy delivered to him, and Christian Slater is kind of sympathetic towards him and helps him out. And he's getting rid of things, and there's like a scroll inside the stomach, and there's a whole scene where he's digging through them, and Slater's just kind of horrified that he's helping hold the chest cavity open, and he reads the scroll later, and he brings the mummy to life, and then it goes and kills the bully guy, and then eventually the sister, and the kills are okay because they reference back to how the mummification works, because Steve Buscemi explains the needle going through the nose for the brain, so that's how he dies, the guy, and then the sister dies because they take out the organs and stuff it with flowers and stuff.
Yeah.
so we see him like, you know, slash her open, then stuff flowers in. And I'm like, okay, all right, okay, you're referencing your kills back to that, so that's fine. But so here's the thing. So eventually Christian Slater realizes, he's like, this has to be the mummy, because the mummy's missing the next day, and he's being investigated for stealing the thing, and he's going to have to leave the college. He's going to have to leave. But Christian Slater like ties him up, you know, knocks him out, ties him up, and like, you know, confronts him about what he's done, and he's going to set him on fire, and he wants the scroll so he can burn it. But at the end of this, what I didn't get, because there's a fun sequence here where he kills the mummy essentially with an electric knife. He just starts cutting bits of the mummy off, and the mummy's crawling towards him, and it's kind of, you know, it's whatever, it's fun. Then he just lets Steve Buscemi go. And he's just kind of like, yeah, all right, I've got the scroll. And then Steve Buscemi's in the cab ride. He's like, that idiot couldn't tell the difference between a hieroglyphic scroll from a mummy and Aztec porn or whatever he said.
Yeah.
And then you see mummified versions of both the sister and the boyfriend guy come back to life and come to kill Christian Slater. And here's the thing: by the end of this story, I'm like, because if we're going with Tales from the Crypt rules, where this is like comeuppance, right? This story, because this one feels like that. It feels like this is a story about bad people getting their comeuppance. Christian Slater's the only one who doesn't deserve comeuppance. He's the only one who doesn't. Steve Buscemi goes nuts and tries to kill people with a mummy. The other two are trying to frame him and screw him out of his stuff. Christian Slater's the only likable character who's completely innocent.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fair.
The Steve Buscemi gets away scot-free. He's off riding off into the sunset doing something else.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I don't know, maybe, you know, like they said, early on, it seems like they're trying to make Steve Buscemi a little more sympathetic. So maybe they're just trying to go with, all right, this guy's our hero. I
think he comes across as too already kind of sinister as soon as we meet him. He's got like a creepiness to him. He's already kind of quirky and weird.
He seems like a little like snobby and also like, because the other two, they were the ones who were trying to like get the, you know, artifacts or whatever to sell. But I don't know. I didn't really feel like, Buscemi had, you know, super great like motives with him either. Like, yeah, like, I don't know. It kind of seemed like, all right, well, first of all, you know, how did you exactly get these? And also, I don't know if I trust with what you're going to do with them. But
the kills were fun. There was some fun. Like I said, I like the actors for the most part, and I like Christian Slater like cutting up the mummy. Although it kind of made the mummy feel too easy to beat. Like it was just like it was almost like a really comedy sequence of him just like cutting the mummy up with this electric knife as if it was nothing.
Yeah. I did like the look of the mummy. I thought he looked good, and yeah, and I do like that. It is more of a, I feel like other mummy stuff we've seen. They always try to, like make him into like a person or anything. I like that it's kind of just like a, like tool for revenge or whatever. I think that's kind of cool. But yeah, I definitely could have used more of it. Like it would have, but again, it's a short story, so. It's and I think it works for what you get
from the world's biggest fan of the boy. This'll do. Is the sentiment I'm getting here. Do you know what I think is? I don't think there's a high enough standard for mummy stories, so you're taking what you can get.
That's fair. No, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'll give you that. It's I want more mummy in my life, and unfortunately, they seem intent to, now just making like the mummy this like action kind of thing, which it's fine. It can work in that setting, but I want my horror mummy, and so yeah, I definitely will take what I can get.
Yeah, the 99 Mummy is actually probably the best mummy movie in terms of like the mummy. Like
sure, yeah.
Because I think the original 32 film is okay. I think it's one of the weaker Universal monster movies for me.
Yeah, I think it relies. Honestly, I think the big problem with it is there's not enough mummy in it. Like, like there's like that great little opening, but then you get the Dracula kind of for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, and we talked about that when we talked about it last year, because when the new one came out, we did the original. But all right, so that was the first story. It was okay. You liked it more than I did, right? So we'll move on to the second story, which is Cat from Hell, and this is a rich old man hiring a hitman to kill a cat, a stray cat that has come into the mansion, and he claims killed his sister, his butler, or not his butler. He's more of a worker than a butler, and then was it his wife, the other woman?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, Hitman thinks it's a joke. What are you doing? Why do you need me to kill a cat? It's a cat. If you want to kill it, do it damn self. And he tells the story of why he believes the cat is responsible for all these deaths. And the first one, I was like, okay, because the first death we see from the cat in the flashback is the cat is kind of behind the one of the women, and she trips over it and falls down the stairs. And I'm like, okay, I can buy this as a cat death, because I have almost tripped over the cats multiple times. I can totally buy that this could happen, and you could sort of speculate, was it intentional, was it not? Right? Because normally it wouldn't be, because the cat's just standing there because it's standing there. The second one, however, is when this went off the rails silly to me. Because the cat, because he's telling us about how, my mother used to tell me cats would smother babies in their sleep. And we see a cat like crawling up on the sister, and we see the paw go over the mouth, and I thought the paw was just going to like hold her mouth shut, and that was already silly to me. But then it cuts to this shot of the cat. It's like just spread out across her face, but it's like a fake cat at this point, and she's just kind of screaming and going and the cat's just holding on tight and suffocating her. And I'm like, all right, the mystery of whether or not, because I thought up until this point that it was going to be like, is the cat actually responsible, or is he just crazy? And even at this point, I suppose these are all flashbacks told from his perspective, so he didn't witness any of this, so arguably it still didn't happen. But I was like, okay, this went from being kind of interesting in a mystery way to, okay, now I'm just enjoying how schlocky and stupid this is.
Yeah, I think this one's a ton of fun. It is definitely super silly, but obviously, I feel like that's the tone they're going for. And yeah, it's definitely a very schlocky like premise and everything, but again, like for a short story, kind of give it a little leeway, and you just kind of like sit back and have fun with it. Yeah,
the worker Hector Salamanca, his death's probably the most boring one, because he just kind of gets slashed a bit in the car till that crashes. So not as exciting.
I love the actor that plays the old guy in this. He just has such a like weird, unique voice. I
am going to make a guess here and say he's been on some Tales from the Crypt episodes. I remember him being in things.
He's definitely. I know I've seen him in other stuff.
National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I definitely remember him in
okay.
that.
Oh, okay, yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah, he's definitely a guy who's like popped up in stuff before, and he, yeah, I don't know, he just has like this really weird like voice that just, I don't know, it just tickles me like anytime he says anything.
It's very raspy. He's got a very raspy
Yeah,
voice.
it's like very hard. Like it's not like super, you know, like it's not like the craziest or weirdest thing you ever heard. It is like very like it's definitely like recognizable, and it's kind of like hard to like imitate or duplicate.
And he was on Tales from the Crypt. He was in the Switch, if you remember that episode, with the old man wanting to switch bodies.
Oh, with that was the one that was like directed by Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's like
Oh,
switching
you're right.
bodies.
Yeah, it was that one. Yeah, yeah. That's
Oh, that was a classic.
the highlight of this though actually comes. So the hitman gets attacked a couple of times by the cat and gets really frustrated, and he's like, "All right, it's on. Like no one hits me and gets away with it," and he gets really upset. And the cat like attacks him and kills him. Like actually succeeds in doing so.
Yeah.
But the highlight is when the old man comes back, because the cat actually goes inside the hitman's body, right? Goes inside his mouth.
His mouth, yeah.
And we get this like weird. It looks better than it should, because there's like a point where it's halfway in his mouth, and the back legs and the tail are still sticking out of the mouth, as if it's like squeezing in, and it looks. I mean, it looks really silly, a bit better than you would think it would if you as I'm describing it, you're thinking this just looks really fake, and I'm like, it didn't look as fake as it should.
No, I actually think it's pretty good effect.
Yeah, but when the old man comes in the next morning and finds the dead body lying there, the cat's head comes out of the dead hitman's mouth, and it looks like a much better effect. Like, I have to give them credit here for pulling this off in a way that didn't look completely ridiculous. And this shocks the old man so much he can't get to his medication and he dies. Is basically the thing. But I probably enjoyed this one the most because of how stupid and silly it was. Not because it was believable in any way, but just because it was stupid and silly and fun.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, I think it's very silly, but also like a lot of fun. I think it maybe if I have like any complaints, it maybe it could have been tightened up a little bit. I think kind of like you mentioned, some of the flashbacks and stuff could have been tightened up or maybe made a little more interesting. But yeah, I mean, other than that though, like pretty much anytime you see the cat, it's usually you're in for a good time. And this one, it definitely has the Tales from the Crypt kind of come up its thing, because this I forget if you mentioned it, but this old guy, he owned like a company that like a pharmaceutical company or something that experimented on cats, so he killed like over 5,000 cats. So
so I was rooting for the cat the whole time, just for the record. I'm on the cat side. Yeah, no question. The cat is the hero of the story. make no mistake. So no, it's good. It's fun.
Yeah, and I like at the end, it's at first you kind of think they're going for like an alien chest burster scene, because it's like stomach, it's moving around in the stomach, but then actually like it crawling out of the mouth, it's just so the cat looks so like goopy and wet and stuff, but it's it's a really like impressive looking.
Yeah, it really looks like he's sort of like trying to struggle his head out in the mouth. It looks it's an impressive little effect. So no, I give props to it. I give props to this one. It was fun. And by far the one that's supposed to be the most serious, I think, is the finals, of the three stories, which is called Lover's Vow, and it stars James Remar, who has been in a bunch of stuff both before and after this. He was, he was in The Warriors. He was in, he was Dexter's dad. Right now he's on Black Lightning. He was Raiden in the second Mortal Kombat movie. Like he has been across the board. This dependable character actor, and he's an artist who's struggling. He gets dumped by his agent, and then he sees a gargoyle-esque creature kill a bartender, which obviously freaks him out. And then the gargoyle talks to him and says, "I will let you live if you never speak of this to anyone. You can never tell anyone you saw me or about what happened here tonight." And
sorry, was it a bartender or wasn't it someone that was mugging him?
No, it was the bartender.
Because he had like a gun in his hand. He was like holding him up, and then the gargoyle slashes like his arm off.
No, wasn't it the bartender he was leaving the bar with?
No, I think he leaves the bar and he's in the alley, and then like a mugger comes up to mug him.
So we double check to make sure that at least just to find out which one of us is crazy. Timmy's right that there was a gun involved, but it was the bartender who had a gun. It wasn't a mugging. The bartender pulls out a gun because he hears a noise, which admittedly I thought was a bit quick to just pull out a gun. Like, you heard a noise. Like, there's not even a hint of danger yet. You heard a swoop.
Yeah.
But
that was. Yeah, sorry, that was my bad, but yeah. So it was the bartender.
You made me thought. I was like, wait a minute, am I missing a scene or something? What happened? Yeah. So the bartender pulls out a gun, gets his arm cut off, and he dies and gets slashed and whatnot and decapitated. And the gargoyle says to him, right, never tell anyone about this, and I'll let you live. And he obviously is scared shitless. Here's one of the moments that really, now admittedly it makes more sense when we find out the twist later on, but it really played weird for me in the scene, is when he sees the woman, right, Corolla, played by Don Chong from Commando, and he pulls her into the alleyway and covers her mouth because he thinks it's dangerous. He thinks the gargoyle's still out there. And he's like, and obviously she's terrified because this is like, she's been grabbed by a random man and held up against the wall in an alley. And he says, don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you, but it's dangerous. And it kind of calms down a little bit. And then he says, look, it's dangerous out here, you should call a cab. You can call a cab from my place. And I went, this is the most, I mean, obviously we know he's not being sketchy, but this is the most like rapey sounding like trap I have ever heard in my life. And she just kind of agrees to it. Now, admittedly, when we find out the twist that she is the gargoyle later, it's like, okay, right, obviously she's not actually scared, but like, it just, in the moment when we thought she was a real person, I was like, this is bullshit. No one in their right mind would agree to go to a stranger's house like this when they themselves never even witnessed any danger. To them, all that's happened is some random dude pulled her into an alleyway and held her up against the wall, and then started talking crazy about danger.
Yeah, it is definitely really weird. Your first viewing, I think it plays a little better if you've seen it before, because like, when I was watching it, even the beginning, it opens up with like a stone gargoyle like looking down like on the street and stuff, and I don't know, I kind of got the feeling that, oh, like, I don't know, maybe like this gargoyle has been watching this guy for a while and like fell in love with him for some reason. Yeah,
it adds a lot of sort of, you get a sense of like myth. I know I glanced at the wiki earlier, and it's based loosely on a Japanese folklore thing. I can't remember the name of it, but there's like a Japanese name for this type of story. But you get this idea. It's obviously they fall in love, they kiss, they make out, they have sex. She comes back the next day. She helps him his career by getting him a contact with a big art gallery, and life goes well. She's pregnant. He proposes, and we skip to 10 years later. They've got 2 kids. They're happily married. The whole thing. So here's my other big thing about that opening incident. So here's the thing. Let's say for some weird circumstance you met your wife, Tim, and a really weird circumstance where it might have looked like you were trying to do something bad at first, right? Where you pulled her into an alleyway, you pinned her up against the wall because you thought it was dangerous, but that was you were well intentioned. But from her perspective, you might have been trying to sexually assault her.
Yeah.
Would you ever, even as adults, tell your children, "Oh, I thought your dad was going to rape me the night I met him"? Would you ever say that to them?
Oh, not at all. Like, especially the fact that, because doesn't one of the kids actually say like, "Oh, isn't that when mommy thought you were gonna rape her?" Or something like that?
That's the line of dialogue. And I'm like, why would you tell your kid that story? Even as an adult, I don't think as an adult I'd want to hear that from my parents. Never mind when I'm like 8.
Yeah, it is bizarre.
Is that the night you thought Dad was going to rape you? What?
And then like they just laugh about it, like, oh no.
no, don't be silly, child. I'm like, what are you telling these kids?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe gargoyle values are a little different than humans, I guess, but
Well, does James Remar not walk into the room as she's telling this story? What are you telling the kid that for? Do you think I'm a psychopath?
He's a moody artist, I'm sure he I don't know.
So the story basically is that the guilt of like not telling anyone about what happened to the bartender weighs on him, so he eventually tells his wife, and she cries and says, "Why did you tell me that?" And she turns back into a gargoyle. This is the curse that was broken. If he kept his promise, it'd have been fine. But because he told someone, which includes her, she turns back into a gargoyle, and so does his children. They both turn into gargoyles, and they kill him, and then they
rip out his throat.
Yep. And then they return to the top of a building, and they turn into stone, and they look very sad about the whole affair. So it's a really sad story, and it's one where it's like it feels unfair. Like if you told them the consequence of telling someone, maybe it'd be easier for them to keep the secret. But it has to be this leap of faith thing where you're supposed to just keep the promise.
Yeah, and then it's another one where it's like it's not like, all right, other than being really weird with that that girl in the beginning and stuff, like we don't really get any other sense about him being like a bad guy that deserves this type of
he's down in his luck, but he seems like a decent enough guy. There's no hint of malice or anything like that. So yeah, it's a well presented story. I like the actors, and the ending's kind of fun, but in a sad way. It's just got a very sad kind of tone to it.
And again, this is another thing where I like the creature effects and stuff. Like I think the gargoyle looks pretty cool, and the idea of the story is definitely interesting. But I think this one maybe is the roughest. Maybe could have used like a little tweaking. But I mean, otherwise, I do like the overall idea behind it.
I think I liked it more than the first story. It had more atmosphere. I think the idea that part of the city kind of fell in love with him. The gargoyles.
Sure.
It's almost like adding like this gothic mythos to like a grungy city. New York City. It's a grungy city, but the idea that in the skylines there are these creatures. Like I like that kind of idea. It's kind of like why I was really into Q the Winged Serpent and things like that when I saw that. But I like the idea of like a built city having like a mythology like that. It's kind of interesting. So
were you a gargoyles kid growing up?
Never seen it.
Never seen it? Oh, all right.
No.
I liked it as a kid.
No. I'll tell you what for it, but to me, I think of gargoyles. I'm basically thinking of Ghostbusters and the Gatekeeper and the Keymaster and them turning into stone. That's my first thought. Either that or Batman standing on one. That's my experience with gargoyles.
There's also the gargoyles in the Disney Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh yeah, I think I saw that as a kid, but not like once, not enough to remember it in any great detail.
And I don't remember if it's good or bad, but
did you relate to Quasimodo as a kid?
Wait, did I look like him?
Did you relate to Quasimodo?
Oh,
which I guess is kind of the same question, but
well, I'll tell you this. In 7th grade, in English class, we would have to like read plays. And we were reading The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and I actually I forget if I volunteered or I got picked, but I did play Quasimodo, and like it was like everyone was very like stiff and nervous, because like middle school is like very no one wants to like do anything. Everyone's like nervous all the time, so like everyone would read their parts, and it'd be very like very wooden, and they would just read it like you're just reading real fast. And then when it like finally got to me, I just fucking like sold the performance. Like I was like really getting into it and like acting it out and stuff. And like and everyone was like, oh wow, like this is cool. Like we can actually like not care and act. And then like, from then like everyone like got like really into the plays and like really like overdid it and stuff.
That sounds like you're telling a story about yourself, inspiring a group of people to be better actors. It's like in a sports movie when the coach actually convinces the team to actually put in effort, but it's the coach himself telling the story later about how great he is. Oh, I inspired my team and I got them all, going. Like, I'm such a great lead.
I specifically remember it though, because like then every time we would do something after that, people would always want to be like, like, oh, like I want to be the monster character or something, because that was like, I think we might have did like a Frankenstein thing or something after, and then because those were always the lines that people could really go overboard and stuff with. But yeah, I just remember like before that everyone was real nervous, and then I was just like, man, I'm just gonna try to like go for it and sell it, and everyone was like, "Wow, I was the king for a day."
I can't say I ever played any roles in any school plays as a child. We did have a couple, but I was never that fussed about trying for them.
I was never in drama or anything. Actually, if I could go back and do something like that, I probably would. But this was just like it was like a class thing. Like, we're just gonna read this aloud in class.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when we did plays and stuff in English, even in high school. We'd all take parts and just to read the dialogue, so that it wasn't the same voice all the time, kind of thing. Because it has to be performed to understand. Dear, something is stinky in the state of Denmark. And I intentionally changed the words. Don't correct me with there's something rotten in the state of Denmark. I know it is. I'm paraphrasing and
Shakespeare scholars that listen to the show.
Yeah. What? They got the Shakespeare quote wrong? What? How dare they? Those plebs. So, yeah. So, and then the wraparound is the kid kind of escapes and pushes the witch onto some sharp objects and then into the oven.
He has like some marbles or something that she slips on, and then he pushes her. And
he narrates the story as if he's telling it as it's happening.
Yeah.
And then he ends with a cookie and he's like, I can't remember what he says actually, but he eats a cookie and says a cheesy line, and then that's the movie. This is okay. If I'm comparing it to other anthology movies, it's kind of in the middle kind of tier. Like, it's better than the ones where I hate all the stories. It's not as good as some of the ones where, because I feel like I genuinely was amused the whole time. I genuinely had fun. And I suppose arguably that's better than when there's just one great one and then a couple of weaker ones. But at least when there's like one great one, I'm usually really enthusiastic about that one.
That's fair, yeah.
Because you've seen John Carpenter's Body Bags, right?
Oh yeah, I just watched it this month actually.
Yeah. And maybe you'll disagree with me, but I think the gas station one is like fantastic.
All right, yeah, no, I agree. The gas station one is definitely of the. I think it was 3 that was in them, but I would say it's the strongest of them.
Yeah.
Unless you include John Carpenter, like making puns and
his Crypt Keeper-esque body, not body. Yeah, he's a coroner, and he's but that story really stuck out to me. Has been fantastic. In fact, there's a film coming out soon which is heavily inspired by that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I saw the director saying about it. I can't remember what it is now off the top of my head. I'm sure I'll be keeping an eye out for it though when it pops up. But
Truth or Dare 2.
Definitely not that. Please not. But no, it's a similar premise where it's like all night at a gas station where the workers on their own and stuff starts happening. I love that set. It's the isolation. It's like she's in a little box and it's like it's like she's in kind of safety, but she may have to leave it at some point, and it's like, oh, something bad's going to happen. And all the weirdos that come up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., so on. So, but yeah, there's often there'll be a lot of anthologies where I'll really like 1 or 2 of the stories, and this is kind of like, this was generally fun throughout, but not great.
Yeah, I'd say it's consistent, but it doesn't reach like the heights of like other anthologies. But yeah, I mean, I guess I would probably. Well, it's hard to say if I'd rather have like something with one really good one and then other ones that aren't that great, or something's consistent all around. But yeah, I mean, and especially if comparing it to like modern day anthologies, I feel like, man, we haven't had like a good one in a while. Like, I really liked
Southbound was good.
Southbound, yeah, but I mean, other than that though, like the I don't know. I guess we won't go into too much detail because we haven't done them, but like stuff like the VHS movies, I've never been too crazy about.
The implication there being that we'll get to them eventually.
Yeah.
There's like 3 of those now. There's VHS 1, 2, and Viral, I believe.
Yeah. The first 1 or 2 like maybe have like one good one in them, but yeah, overall not that great. And unfortunately, XX we're both a little disappointed in. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. And then I can't really think of that many other anthologies, but yeah, I don't know. I think
Holidays wasn't bad.
Holidays,
had a few good stories.
That one had. Yeah, but it also had some pretty bad ones
Oh, it
too.
did, but I remember liking the
Yeah.
Father's Day one and the Valentine's Day
Yeah.
one, and
I kind of like the Easter one. I might be alone on that. That one was like weird as shit, but I kind of liked it.
Regardless,
I don't know.
yeah, there you go.
I love anthology movies, so I think they're a lot of fun. And yeah, this one I get a. Again, this is probably only the second or third time I've seen it, but yeah, it's definitely one I'd watch again.
Oh, cool. I guess we'll rate the movie then. I think we're good to go. So, what are you giving Tales from the Dark Side out of 10?
I think I'm gonna give it a 7.5. I think it's pretty good. I mean, it definitely could be better. There's definitely room for improvement in it, but yeah, overall, I think it's a pretty solid, fun watch.
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit lower. I feel like I'm going to go with maybe a 6.5, which means we average out at a 7. So, I guess it screams after midnight 7 out of 10 overall. But yeah, I think it's enjoyable. I like the silliness of the middle one the best. I think the third one has the best filmmaking in it probably, but it's the cast is quite good, and it's never offensively terrible or like tough to get through. So, it's good. So that's Tales from the Dark Side, the movie. We have one final film left in the Octoberthon for 2018. There'll be no movies in the first week in November. We're going to do a top 50 countdown instead of movies next week, and then we'll be back to movies the week after that. So you got that to look forward to. But and we've a lot to work through. We have so many sequels to work through. We have a backlog now of like new films from this year to get to that have been popping up.
Oh boy.
You can look forward to Slenderman. You can look forward to Hellfest. You can look forward to what else went up? I don't know. There's been few movies gonna coming out.
Ghost Stories must be up by now, huh?
Ghost Stories, yeah, VOD, but released. If not now, it must be soon. It's been a while.
Yeah. I think I saw I think I was at the store and I saw the Blu-ray for it, so it must be.
I'm sure there's something else. Probably something bad.
I've been seeing some stuff on Shudder popping up, like The Witch in the Window, Summer of '84. Those both sounded interesting.
Oh, I've seen Summer of '84.
Oh, you already saw it? Oh.
Yeah, I watched that when it first hit. It's not like a straight up horror movie, although it gets very horror towards the end. I'm not opposed to doing it though. If you want to do it in streams, we can do it in streams.
Yeah, we'll see how much time we have.
Yeah, yes, lot to work through. But that is us. So yes, if you want to support the channel and the show, head over to patreon.com/MailedFuzzTV, and you can do that over there. You get to get some stuff early, you get some bonuses. At the $5 tier, of course, you get to vote in the streams after midnight. You vote every month where you pick from 1 or 4 movies and see what wins. The vote for that's up right now. That's almost over because the deadline's the end of the month. If you want to scoop in at the last second, you can swoop in at the last second is what I meant to say. You can vote on the zombie vote, which is for a movie in November. So you can look at that. Like, subscribe, get us on the Twitters at Screams Midnight for your horror movie tweeting needs. Get me on Twitter at Wibble89, get Tim at Tim Vergulish, and otherwise that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching scary movies, guys, and of course happy Halloween because it is almost time. We'll see you next time, guys. Goodbye.